What's up, fellas?
What's going on, man?
How you guys doing?
Happy to be here, bro.
Awesome. Thank you for doing last service. We just got done with the service. Thank you guys for coming out. If this is your first time, just know that Jesus Christ loves you. It's awesome. He loves you with everything inside. We're going to hear a lot about Jesus today and the story about how he encountered your guys' life. But I want to start off with just a couple little tidbits of information. I've actually known Kelenna for about 10 years, which is why Pastor Monty, who's our lead pastor, it's why he allowed me to do this. So I just want to say thank you for him letting me do this. And so I've been friends with your family. I've shared the stage with all your siblings when it comes to worship. I know your mama, awesome person. We've had some fun times goofing off. I just want to talk to you about the fact that if you Google search, if you go to Google and go to images and you just write your name in, look what comes up. It says girlfriend. So that means a lot of people have asked that question. Do you have a girlfriend?
No, I don't. I mean, I'm interested to find out what that's about, too. Like,
yeah. It was weird because when I did my name, literally nothing came up.
No one asked the truth.
Which I feel like they're trying to keep me down for some reason. I don't understand that.
It's crazy.
But then it says arms. And, dude, you're like Hulk smash. Those things are huge, man.
It's just, I'm wearing pads.
Oh, they're pads?
Yeah.
Should I try that?
Yeah, you should try it, man. It helps out, you know. It makes you look bigger, and it's worked for me. So.
Do you think I need that?
Yeah.
Wow, man, you said
We're in church, man.
I'm 41. Things happen.
I couldn't lie, bro. We're in church, you know.
All right, I'm done with him. He's actually not going to be a part of the rest of the service at this point.
Take care. Appreciate y'all.
DA, I just talked to you this week. I just met you this morning.
Right.
Huge fan. Dude, you did some amazing. DA's he's a rare breed, so this is the 1% of basketball players between the two of them. And he's like in the, whatever point, I wasn't good at math, but he's in another league of percentages. He won a college championship. Anybody remember that? Where was that at? Right, Big Blue Nation?
Absolutely.
He also won a title with the Miami Heat.
Yes, sir.
Yep. Which ring do you have on today?
Always Kentucky.
Always Kentucky. Come on! Nobody cares about Miami. But it didn't stop there, right? You also have a gold medal.
Yes.
In the Olympics. I mean, just show off, I guess, at this point. And you were handpicked to be the very first athlete by Michael Jordan to wear his brand, right?
Yes. I was fortunate enough to do that. And
That's crazy.
Dude, that's elite status. That's elite status. You know, I was telling you guys earlier, I have 3 championships in the church league. So, I'm quite the baller myself. It's almost like we're the same.
what percentile are you?
I don't know if that's relevant.
Like 80%?
Hey, it's a team. There's no I in team.
I and win, though, huh?
I'm all about other people succeeding. So, you guys have probably never even heard of church league. What is he talking about? Well, that's what we do.
Yeah.
We play church league.
Well, I'm signing up.
You'll sign up? Please do.
Hey,
man.
Not on your team.
What?
Yeah.
I can shoot. I got a jumper,
I want to find
man.
out.
Yeah. They say you don't pass much, though. That's what I heard.
Did you say that, Zoe?
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
that's
I'm
true.
not going to pass.
Hey, just own it.
I'm going to get mine, but I don't play defense either, though. So
Yeah.
I stay on one end. It's cool.
Yeah.
This is not about me. Right? Real quick, favorite UK moment, and what brought you to UK? Why UK?
Well, for me, my favorite UK moment was winning the SEC championship. That was an amazing time for all of us as a team. And then just playing in the tournament and just playing, we played in the Sweet 16, made it to the Elite 8, just that environment, and then the Big Blue Nation, the fans. I mean, you can't beat the fans they got here. I mean, we went to Hawaii, and I thought it was a home game because it was just packed with blue people, and then the other team was like, this is ridiculous, man. And so, man, that was just amazing. And, what brought me to UK, I actually played with Coach Tubby Smith's son. That was the coach at the time. And we played in the YMCA league. And he didn't even remember because he was so young. But we played in the YMCA league, and our family got to know his family, and we just kind of developed that trust. And I decided to commit because he was there. So it was really cool to kind of have a relationship with his family and be friends, and then be able to come to the school he was at. So that was great.
I had a variety of several happy moments, sweeping the SEC. It was funny, we had 86 points. I don't know if you should remember, we had 86 points at halftime. At halftime at LSU. And Coach Pitino at the time was our coach, and he came in the locker room and just looked at us. You guys know Coach, he's always screaming and yelling. He walked in the locker room and did like this. So when we were finally able to keep him from screaming for 15 minutes, we were happy. That was like one of our happy moments.
That was the one.
Yeah, because we'd be up 50, and he'd be like, "What are you doing?" We'd like, "Coach, did you look? Score?"
Yeah.
Like,
we're up by 20.
yeah, and but the biggest moment actually was we won a championship. We got home from the plane, and we was driving back to Rupp Arena to celebrate, and we saw every person from Lexington outside celebrating. I had realized we had actually done something special, and I lived in that moment, so that was my proudest moment as a Kentucky basketball player at that time. So, and the reason why I came is coming out of high school in '92, they didn't have any more scholarships, so I didn't come first. I went to Ohio State, forgive me. And
No. Let's not be clapping over there. That's crazy.
they will escort you out of here, so be careful.
Security?
Right.
That's dangerous.
So I went to Ohio State, and actually we played Kentucky. I had a great game, did everything. But then I looked in the arena, like he said, I looked in Hawaii, and it was like 40 Ohio State fans, and the rest was Kentucky. And I was like, what did I do wrong? I was like, God, I got to get out of here. And fortunately, I got injured. And as soon as I was transferring, Coach Pitino was the first call I got. And that got me down to Kentucky. I came in, people were celebrating, saying, thank you for coming. We appreciate you. And when I came, history was made. So that was my blessing to get back home.
Awesome. Thank you both for playing at Kentucky. As a Kentucky boy, it means a lot.
Yeah.
You guys were studs, and sure still are. Hardest person to guard?
The hardest person for me to guard.
Besides me.
I was about to say that. Besides you, yeah, because you shoot and that's it. But Kobe Bryant was the hardest person for me to guard. He just had so many moves, But I think for me, like I loved guarding players like that are just supposed to, they're the best in the league because everybody expects them to get 40 on you. So if they do get 40 on you, everybody's like, well, he does that to everybody. But if you hold him to 20 or anything around there, everybody's like, oh man, he's this amazing defensive player. So I got to go and guard Kobe, and I held him to 18 or 50, something like that. And everybody was calling me this, this defensive stopper, but he just really had an off game, But that was just cool to be able to guard players like that, LeBron and all of them. It was, it just helped players like me.
Well, of course, mine would be my boss, Michael Jordan. And the first time we played him, I had 23 points and we won. The next time we played him, he had 30 points in the second half. And we lost. So he was like an amazing guy, and it was one of those situations that you were watching greatness in front of your own eyes, and you played as hard as you could, and it was still not enough. But you got to see the reality of what this guy was like and how hard he played and how hard he worked. So he was always my toughest. And I know Kobe was tough, but Kobe just shot a lot to me. Michael Jordan would be like 14 for 18, and when you watch the film, I'm like, I don't remember him missing a shot. So he was that efficient and that aggressive. So it was always Michael Jordan was my toughest guard.
That's awesome. We didn't have time in the first service because we have another service starting, but we have a little bit more time in this service. We want to open up just a few minutes to some Q&A. If anybody has questions, just feel free to raise your hand, shout it out. We got somebody back there.
Absolutely. And what's funny is we were practicing, I got cleared to play, and they had a doctor come from China. They had a couple other doctors come from everywhere. They checked my knee out, and coach put me through a life practice. The second practice we went through, we played 5-on-5. I wound up, Ron's going to be mad, but I wound up dunking on Ron in practice, Ron Mercer. And then they were
You just got to let him know that, right?
Yeah, and they were like, well, he's ready to play. So I kept practicing, and then when we got to the tournament, I guess something had happened, and coach brought me into the office and said, I'm not going to play you because I don't want to risk your NBA career. And me, I was like, I don't care about my NBA. Let me win this championship. So I'm walking up during the course of the game, and coach loves his little loafers or whatnot, and I'm trying to step on his heels to get his attention. Like, put me in. Yeah. But he actually he's considered like a great friend of mine because he cared about me as a person more than sports. So I respected him a lot more for him making that decision. I could have played, but what Coach did was something a lot of people wouldn't do, and he cared about his players more than he does the championship. So I give him all the praise for that.
Anyone else? Come on, don't be shy, people.
Don't be shy.
I'm sure they'll have something later.
Oh,
I already know what Kelenna's is.
Yeah. Oh, man. I'll have to say getting dunked on by Shaq. Because he didn't just dunk on me. Like, he dunked it, and then he does this thing where he brings his legs up, and he wraps it around my neck. Oh, and it lasted for 10 seconds, at least. And I wasn't fond of that position I was in. I was like, no, stop, wait, I can't get out.
But what do you do?
He's
You
too
can't.
big.
Yeah, he's
do
too
anything.
big.
You're at his
He
mercy.
just stayed there, yeah.
You just like,
It's like King Kong.
This is cool.
Yeah,
holding, right?
man. I was like, you didn't have to do that. He's like, yeah, I did. You know, he's a monster. He's a monster.
you got
That
any
was
embarrassing?
mine.
Well, I wouldn't say embarrassed. I was more, I don't know a word for it. It's kind of misused.
Misused.
Yeah, I think Michael Jordan, I came down, hit a great shot on Michael Jordan, and we were in Chicago, and I came back down. He said, watch this, young fella. And he ball faked and shot a fadeaway, and I didn't touch it. And he just hit an and one and said, and one, and the ref called a foul. And I was like, what was that? I was looking like, I wasn't like, he just moved, it shook me like I couldn't foul him. If I would have fouled him, but I couldn't. And it was almost like the whole camera, like the camera guys just got this close to my face. And it says, Derek Anderson fouls out again.
Again.
Like, oh, God. So it was like, well, what can you say?
But there's a
messed
fine
up.
line, right? He's your boss.
He's my
You
boss.
probably took it easy on him.
Who? No.
No.
I didn't take it easy. I knew what not to do, though. I knew not to foul him too hard.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have had a check next month.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was it. It was no, I never got dunked on. I moved.
Yeah. I tried to.
right
You
out
tried
of
to
the way.
run away?
I tried.
Yeah, I moved out of the way.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Any other questions? It's the same person. Robert.
Why wouldn't Coach play Antoine in the second half of the Mississippi State game in the SEC Championship in '96?
There's a lot of reasons for that answer. But if you guys didn't know, Antoine was a hothead sometimes. And sometimes he would come in and just start running and talking too much, and coach would be like, just be quiet. And he took him out to prove a point. It was like, we're not going to win with you having a bad attitude. So if you're willing to mess your team up, I'm going to sit you on the bench, and you'll see what it feels like to mess up a team. And he did that, and it helped us because we had to calm Antoine down a lot. And Antoine was the type of guy that, you know, if he had 29 points and no assists, he would come down and shoot the next shot. He wasn't thinking about passing it. He was that type of guy, but once he realized to pass the ball and get everything together, and that's how we won a championship. But Antoine was a good kid, but he just had a selfish mentality for basketball, and he learned to channel that into a team effort.
And you played with him, too, at Miami,
Yeah,
right?
Miami,
You guys
yeah.
both won championships.
Yeah, he was still selfish
together.
then.
I think there's a...
We needed Coach P back then. He's amazing.
There's actually 3 of the 40 players that have won championships in college and NBA. Derek's one of those 40, but there's also 2 other from that same championship team here.
Nazi Muhammad and Antoine Walker.
Yeah, come on, Big Blue Nation, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So all we do is win.
All
All
we do is win.
right, one more question. Whoa, we got kids?
Oh, wow.
Did you say funniest? I think when he got dunked on by Shaq, it was really funny. He wrapped
It wasn't
his
funny
legs
for
around
me,
his
but
head.
everybody was laughing at me.
I got a story, but I don't know if it's too rated, but Shaquille O'Neal, he had these real tight, like jock strap. So the media comes in, and he's 7'1". He starts breakdancing in front of the middle of the thing, in front of the news cameras. So he stands up, and the news cameras say, Shaq, can we interview you? So he takes his thing off and runs around naked, chasing the media people around. So we didn't have to answer any questions that day.
They never came back, did they?
They never came back.
I bet you'll never ask that question again. Those were children, by the way.
Yeah,
So I'm going to take over now.
A 7'1" naked man is not pleasing. We even left.
Yeah. And 7'2" at that. He's a big dude.
All right, so it's good to get to know you guys. It's good to get to know a little bit about life and the celebrity status that you've had. But your story, DA, is unreal, man. It's unreal. I mean, the more I hear about it, I'm getting ready to read your book. I just got it in the other day. DA's got a book called Stamina that he wrote. We'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. You can get that online. Dude, it breaks my heart. But then I see God's redemption and his plan. And will you just share that with us?
Well, when I was 10 and 11, I was abandoned in an empty apartment. Both of my parents had left me. I went staying house to house, 12 and 13. I slept in empty school buses, slept on park benches. I was trying to find my way. I was always working. I wound up saving my first $3 working at Winn-Dixie and at the age of 11, and I went and got bread and bologna, and I ate for the weekend and survived. So, 12 and 13, just trying to find my way, going to people's houses, staying over coaches' houses, just trying to find a way to survive. And then at 14, I met a high school girlfriend of mine, and her mother let me stay over her house. She was 17, and then she gets pregnant. So the next year, her and her mother are arrested for shoplifting, and I have to go back to my old neighborhood and find a place to live with my son. And that was very tough for me, but I wound up doing it. And the lady next door gave me a mattress. We slept on the floor. We had pots and no heat, electricity, but she would help me out. And I had a candle for lights. And I wound up doing it for a year and a half in school. And I went to school, played basketball, went to work at 4:30 at a candy store. And then at 8 o'clock, I went and picked my son back up for a year and a half. And then at 18, I wound up graduating with a 3.7 GPA, class president, best basketball player in the 6th region. And getting drafted in the NBA, but then after 24 years of not seeing my parents, God put it in me to go find them. I went and found my dad, met him, I forgave him. We had a conversation, and 10 months later after I met my dad, he died of cancer. So it was very tragic because I didn't know him like I wanted to, but then I went and found my mother and found her in the alley. She was alcohol abuse, and I went and took her to rehab and sat with her for 2 days, and we cleaned her up a little bit, but it took her all for 5, almost 6 years to get cleaned up. And the reason I wrote that book was me and my mother spent Christmas dinner for the first time in 28 years. And I forgave my parents. If you can love and you forgive people, you can make anything possible. And for me, it was basically loving and forgiving my parents for leaving me at the age of 11 and 10 of 11. And nothing in my life can compare to winning championships except for the love that I found in my parents.
It's an amazing story, and there's really no way in our carnal nature to forgive someone that's abandoned us like that, right? I mean, you had to have drawn strength from God in that process. You shared in the first service about how you kind of cried out to God.
Yeah.
Will you share that real quick?
Well, I was 16, and what happened was I had never been to church. I didn't know Jesus. I didn't know God. Never opened the Bible before because of our lifestyle. They kept me away from that. And I remember sitting in there, and we had the empty apartment. It had no electricity, and there was a light outside, but it was broke. It had been broke for 2 weeks. And it was cracked light. And I sat there with my son, and he was kind of shaking and shivering, and I was just, I was frustrated of living like that. So I heard people always say, God this and God that. So I said, God, please don't let this candle go out before my son goes to sleep. Within probably a minute, that light came on. It had been broke for 2 weeks. My son went to sleep, and I believed in God ever since.
That's crazy.
Isn't that an awesome story? And it changed the trajectory of your entire life, right? It gave you hope.
He gave me a vision that if I call on him, he'll come.
Yeah, that's his promise, isn't it? Kelenna, I know your story a little bit. Obviously, not everyone here is going to know your story. I know your family. It's completely opposite, really, of what his story is. Can you share that with us?
Yeah, my parents taught me to have a relationship with Jesus Christ early on, so that was a huge blessing in my life. But I grew up in Oklahoma, ended up being blessed to get a scholarship to Kentucky. Played there for 3 years. While I was there, my family's really, really close knit. I really look up to my dad. He's our spiritual giant. We almost looked at him like he was not even human. Like, we just wanted to be like him spiritually in every single way. He ended up getting into some trouble business-wise. He got into some things he shouldn't have, not on purpose, just got into some things he shouldn't have gotten into. He ended up going to jail, and while he's in jail, actually, or before he went to jail, though, he was diagnosed with an incurable heart disease, and basically he had a hole in his heart. It's called cardiopathic myopathy or something like that. And there was a time when we had to rush him to the hospital, and we got him there, and the doctor looked at him. He was like, "You should have been dead at least 2 weeks ago. Like, we don't even know how you're alive. It shouldn't be possible." So he ended up having to have a heart transplant. They got him on the list, and he got a match within a month, which is crazy. I mean, that's a miracle. Sometimes people are on that list for years to get a heart that matches in every single way. And so he got a new heart, and he's still struggling with that. He ends up having to go to jail. So that was really tough on me because obviously we were really close. I was trying to focus on basketball while I was at Kentucky, and thinking about this in the back of my mind, missing talking to him. We only got to talk, collect calls every so often or whatever it was, and letters. And that was really tough on me because he was kind of the backbone of the family, the spiritual leader. We would pray together. And I was missing that, and that was really tough on me, going through college. And then, my family was in a really tough situation financially, and I ended up leaving school, leaving Kentucky. Didn't get drafted. I got hurt right before all my workouts. I tore my groin up. I couldn't even walk. So I didn't get to do any workouts before the drafts or anything. I didn't get drafted, and then I ended up playing, having to go to the D League, which is the minor league of the NBA, and that really took my prayer life to new heights because I was praying a lot to get out of there, and so I ended up playing there for a year, and the Golden State Warriors called me up, and that was a huge blessing. So I played, for 3-4 years, was playing really well, and then something happened that's terrible for any career. I had a knee injury. I tore my patella tendon, just ruptured the tendon. And if any of you guys have ever seen Victor Cruz play, he had the same injury. He's just running, and all of a sudden he falls over, and he's holding his knee. And that's kind of how mine was. Like, I actually took off like I always did, and the knee just gave way. And I thought someone kicked me. I was on the ground looking around like, who kicked me? And everybody's like, yo, you're by yourself. No one touched you. And so that was devastating. That was really devastating. 1 minute you're the Kobe stopper, and the next minute you're not sure if you're going to play again. So that was tough. And my dad had gotten out of jail, and after I got injured, my dad actually died, and he had some complications with his heart. And that was the toughest thing I ever went through, for my family and I. Like I said, we're just super close. My dad was our spiritual leader. He was our backbone. And I'm looking at God like, really, God? Like, why? Why would you, why would he have to die? I mean, it was just mind-boggling to me. And, and so that was an extremely tough time in my life. And the whole time I'm trying to focus on getting back on the court. And, I'm thinking about him. Of course, we knew he's in heaven, but you lose a loved one, it's tough, man. It's tough. And so, the first surgery for my knee was botched, so I'm trying to get back on the court. I'm realizing I have to have another surgery. I have another surgery. The guy tried to pull the kneecap down because it was up here. He tried to pull it down, and it still ended up too high. So I came back, played basketball, played in the NBA for another couple years in pain, basically. And, that's pretty much how my last couple of years were. But I mean, of course, I was blessed to have stepped foot in the NBA at all. But through all that stuff, the biggest thing that the Lord helped me with was having my identity in Him, in Jesus Christ. And I grew in that throughout my career, and just realizing that I'm not a basketball player first. I'm a follower of Jesus Christ first. I'm a Christian first. And everything I do down here is for His glory, and it's just something I do for Him. But my identity is I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. I feel like so many athletes, that's their whole identity, their whole self-worth, in their own image, everything they are is wrapped up in what they do, what they play, the sport that they play. If you're an NFL player, it's that you're an NFL player. That's what people see you as. That's what the self-worth is, how good you are, how much money you got, whatever it is. And the Lord really helped me, and I grew in that that's not what it is. My identity is in Jesus Christ. I'm a follower of Jesus Christ, and that's the blessing we have as Christians, is that we can put our everything in Him. We can, because He's eternal, He's, all the stuff we do down here is temporary, but we can put everything in Him, and our trust in Him, our faith in Jesus Christ, and just have a relationship with Him. And that's who we are, and that's how we define ourselves. That's how we define ourselves, by how He sees us. And we don't have to define ourselves with what goes on here. So when injury took basketball away, I was okay, because that wasn't who I was. I was a follower of Jesus Christ first, and I was good in that. And then the second thing that was huge for me in my career, was massive for me, was having accountability partners and Christians I could do life with. Like my brother, my other brother, my best friends, people I could pray with and really, I could confess to them. James talks about confess your sins one to another, and just, people I could share my struggles with. They could pray with me. That was so huge for me, because in a locker room, when you play professional sports, you're going to be the minority most of the time. If you're really trying to live for Jesus, you're just going to be the minority. There's other people that are trying to, not trying to live that way, pulling you different directions. And for me, that was so big, knowing there was people, other Christians doing life with me, following Jesus Christ with me, trying to live the same way, that I could pick up the phone and call at any time. And that got me through so much. And then, one of my favorite verses, Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, He will make your path straight. That spoke to me so much, because I didn't understand everything that happened. I didn't understand why my dad had to die. I really didn't. I didn't understand why injury had to take basketball away. I didn't understand that, but that verse talks about how we can trust God even when we don't understand. We can trust Him and realize that we don't have to be up and down with life circumstances. Like, we can just put our everything in Him, our faith in Him, our trust in Him, and realize that He's got our back and He has our best in mind, and He makes everything okay, and He has. And that's the story of my life, man. I mean, God's done amazing things in my life, and it's all because of Him, man. I mean, I wouldn't have been able to get it through any of that stuff without Him, man. So that's what it is.
DA, did you struggle at all with that, with your identity? I mean, you leave something that we only know you as a basketball player, right? Did you struggle with that at all when you walked away?
No, I didn't struggle at all. I had been through enough to be humbled and be thankful for everything that I got. So every day that I woke up, I told myself I would be better than I was yesterday. But my character would outshine anything that I did. So my character was walking in Jesus Christ. And Hurricane Katrina happened, and we got on the bus. It was a bunch of celebrities. Kevin Garnett, Shaq, every celebrity was on there, athlete. And I walked on the bus, and Kevin Garnett jokingly said, "Hey, DA, say a prayer for us." I knew I was walking in faith when they said that. I didn't have to go around sharing a Bible or anything. When you automatically assume to say something like that, you knew what I was living by. So I didn't have a problem with showing my faith and being encouraged by it.
Yeah, it's amazing how our light can truly shine without being completely overzealous and shoving the Bible down someone's throat, right? You can live a life for Christ and not be a weirdo, right? You really can. You can live a normal life, and something about you, they'll see the love of Christ inside you. So that's a really awesome story, and how that worked.
Awesome.
What are you doing now since basketball is done, right? What are you doing now? We talked a little bit about the book. Can you talk to us about this a little bit and what you're actually doing now to spread the gospel of Christ?
Well, what I did was, you know how people say, oh, I grew up in bad situations. I had problems. I was an addict. I was in projects. Grew up rough living. I got tired of people making excuses, and I said, let's make a difference. Don't tell me what you're going through. Tell me how you got out of it. So my vision was to put that in the book, and I said, I wrote 400 pages, and it's only 175, so I was pretty upset, and I didn't know about it. But I realized that I could forgive, and once I got rid of all my anger, that all the love and forgiveness came through Jesus. So I was like, okay, well, people need to know this. It's not about, and I don't believe in racism. I think there's good people and there's bad people. The good people serve a higher power, and the bad people don't. That's it. You know, we make mistakes. We do what we have to do to survive, but I really believe that when I put this book out, was to make sure that people could love and forgive. And if I can forgive my parents, they didn't come looking for me. When I made the NBA, had millions of dollars, they didn't come looking for me. I went looking for them. That was a testimony of what we all should do in here. We should go forgive people, right or wrong. You don't have to like them. You don't have to call them all the time, but you need to forgive people so you sleep better, you feel better. So when it's time for you to talk to your inner person or your inner self, you actually know what you're supposed to do. And another reason was that when I was 16, I was going home and I had my bread and bologna, and some kids jumped me, and I remember this kid. So I got older and went to the NBA, and I'm 6'6" now, and he's still the same height. So I walk up to him, and the guy's just ready to fight. He just, you know, he can see he's tense, and I was like, don't worry about it. We were kids, just don't do that anymore. I think it's, you know, not right. So now he's on Facebook, hey, follow Derek Anderson. He's a great guy, you know, he's got his great book, and I'm thinking, you baloney thief?
You should call him out.
Yeah, I was like, man.
Hashtag baloney thief.
Right. But I changed from my adversity to my achievements. I changed the enemy into an ally from one simple thing, was to love and forgive people. If you can do that, you will be able to transform your life. I altered my mind, and it altered my future. I didn't make excuses. I've never drank, never smoked, never sold drugs, never done drugs. I didn't blame my parents for anything because I had a life that I wanted better. So you have no excuses why these kids are saying, well, I had a rough upbringing. We all have rough times. But if you find a purpose in life and you find the strength in God to give you that, you can become successful. And it's all about believing in yourself and then believing in the higher power. So for that, that's why we succeed.
That's awesome. Kelenna, I know that you're out too promoting something. I want to just give a real quick glimpse. Neither one of these guys were like, hey, I want to be plugged. That was not their hearts at all. You never once asked me to talk about your book or anything, but we want to plug you. You can get it online. I'm sure it's a great read. I just got mine on Friday, and then 2 more came in on Saturday. Kelenna, you helped produce a movie that's out. We'll see the trailer at the very end of the service. Will you talk us through us of that?
Yeah, man. I mean, we've been working with a lot of organizations. We support an organization that helps free women out of the sex trafficking industry, and support a lot of different groups. So a lot of the proceeds for this film goes to that, and then to do more films like this, more Christian films. Basically, I mean, we're a proponent of using entertainment to point people to Jesus Christ. So many people go to movies, so many people listen to music, entertainment, and instead of someone going to a movie theater and just sitting there and not getting anything out of it, we wanted to make, quality movies that are entertaining, that build people up and point people to Jesus, and glorify Jesus. So, that's what we wanted to do with this film. Mid-Range is, it's a basketball movie. It's a Christian movie. I love Jesus. I love Christian movies. I love basketball. And so we wanted to put the 3 together, and that's what we did. So I executive produced it with my brother and some friends. And basically, it's a ministry tool. The main character in it goes through struggles with his brother. His storyline kind of builds that way, and he ends up going through struggles trying to find his way basketball-wise, and learning to put his faith in Jesus. And it's really a ministry tool, man. It's just, maybe it's for that person that you've been praying for to get saved, and they may, people may not, there's so many people that won't step foot in a church, but they'll sit down and watch a movie for 2.5 hours. So you hit your, whoever the person is, and you're like, hey, just come watch a movie with me. You don't even have to tell them it's a Christian movie. You just pop it in and just let God do all the work, man. And so it's really just a ministry tool. And if one person comes to the Lord because of this movie, we're happy, man. I mean, we're just glad to be used by God, and God's been doing amazing things with the movie, man. And people have been coming to Jesus. So it's just been a blessing to be a part of, really.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I encourage you guys to get it. They'll be out there signing autographs and taking pictures afterwards. Dia, you said something in the first service, and you said it here again, that just really, it gets me. So in 20 years of me doing ministry as a living, and my dad being a pastor, you would think I would understand it. Man, it's so hard to forgive people. I mean, it really is. Like, it's not within my ability that I can do it, right? You talked about, I've had some circumstances that are nowhere near what you, I mean, I've had an easy life, but I've had people hurt me where I feel betrayed. And I've held on to that for so many years. And when you said it this morning, I was like, I gotta let that go.
Yeah.
That's hard. It's hard to let go. Couple minutes, explain to me, how do we let that go?
Well, I think first, like I said, I wrote 400 pages. I had all this bottled up and I didn't know it. So for your relief, you have to let it out. And the only way you let it out is if you express yourself in a manner that you want to be received. I can't go yelling and fussing at anybody or anything and expect it not to be fussed at and yelled at in return. So I went with a humble heart, and I went and asked, what direction would you want? And people always say, hey, I'm waiting on God to show me. I'm waiting on God. God is waiting on you. You keep trying to wait and say, well, show me a sign, show me something. He's here. You just have to come receive it. So for me, it was basically stepping out of my comfort zone of not worrying about my parents, not worrying about this, not thinking about it, and trying to, subside the true matter of I was missing something that most people could get, was love from my parents. People always say I had a single parent or no parent, I was homeless. I was like, okay, I get that. What is your process now? Like I tell my kids, like, you'll never know a music verse before you know a Bible verse. So the vision of it is about putting in things around you, holding yourself accountable. So have you ever been forgiven? Have you ever done something you've been forgiven? And you felt that gratitude and it changed how you thought. So everyone in here has messed up before, but to have someone forgive you was something bigger than you could ever imagine. So, I don't want to be famous. I want to be effective in my life. So I felt like I had to do something. So for me, it was to forgive my parents, which took a lot of me. Because when I met my dad, I didn't understand, why would you leave your son? And come to find out, he was 12 minutes away from me for all this time. He never once came to see me. Middle school championships, high school, college, pros. He never reached out to me ever. And he's 6'9", so he's like 3 inches taller than me. So to see him and to see someone look identical, you just was curious. You were just trying to figure out. And so when I had a conversation with him, the anger left and the love came. When I did that with my mother and seeing how she struggled, when I let her into my life, the hatred went out and the love came. It's that simple. Again, you might not agree with people, you might not like what they do, but you forgive someone, that is the ultimate thing, and that is what Jesus Christ died for.
Amen. Yeah, that's the whole story of Jesus Christ, right? I joke and say we're all the same people up here because of our basketball skills. But we really are the same people, right? We're broken individuals. We were born that way. We were born with a desire, and well, not even a desire. We were born with a need to be fixed, right? We were born with a need to have a Savior. We've all given our hearts over to Christ. It's the greatest decision I've ever made. It's the greatest decision I would say you guys have ever made. I want to just take a couple minutes before we enter into a time of singing and worship, and I want to just talk about what's that look like. What does it mean to be a follower of Christ? Kelenna, can you walk us through that? And if there's someone here that you haven't given your heart to God, can you help them understand what that means and looks like, please?
Yeah, man, there's so much that goes into being a follower of Jesus Christ. So much that it means. It's a life-changing relationship, with your Creator. with Jesus Christ, with, someone that knows you better than you know yourself. It's a peace that passes all understanding. You don't even know why you're peaceful. You're just peaceful, I mean, it's having that confidence that knowing, like I said, that you don't have to be up and down with life circumstances. I mean, we're all human. We fall into that sometimes, but when you're in Jesus, you don't have to be. God's got you covered. It's having that confidence, man. It's knowing that you're loved by God who made you. It's with the most perfect love, knowing that He's perfect in every single way, that He doesn't make mistakes, knowing that we don't have to understand everything He does, that He's, His ways are higher than our ways. And thank God they are, because, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, it's just knowing that He came down to save us and that He wants a relationship with us. Can you imagine? The God who created the stars, the mountains, wants to know me, you know what I mean? Billions of people on there, He wants to know me, you know what I mean? And that's an amazing, knowing that He came down and died, knowing that some people would never care about Him, could care less about Him, and may never care about Him. Can you imagine dying for someone you hate? I mean, what kind of love is that, man? That's how much He loves us. Like, it's a mind-boggling concept, man, just thinking about that, man. And so,
Also,
to me, yeah, that's what it is.
I also believe, I've always said this, that God wants warriors and soldiers in his army, in His heaven. And to me, it's the toughest battles are given to the toughest people to serve God. So for us to go through what we go through daily, just know that He's building you to become a better kingdom and a better leader. So I think being a Christian is the greatest feeling in the world.
Yeah, man.
And for anyone who doesn't know this, if this is just church talk and you're like, I just came to see the basketball players, I don't blame you. I truly don't. I'm lucky to be friends with Kelenna, but I'm awestruck too. It's cool to sit on the stage of somebody that I've seen on TV a lot. Becoming a Christian's easy though, right? I mean, the Bible says if you confess with your mouth, believe in your heart that Jesus Christ was who He said He was, which was the Lord and Savior, that He died and He rose from the grave 3 days later. It says if you confess your sins, He's faithful and just to forgive us. And you become saved right then and there. Your whole life changes. I don't have that power. You guys don't have that power, right? He said we can plant a seed, the Apostle Paul said, or we can water it, but only God can bring the increase. But I pray, even in this room right now, that God would bring the increase. That you would know, if you don't know this, that you would know that there is a God that absolutely adores you. Your worst day, your best day, it's the exact same to Him. You can't earn His love. You can't do anything that can make His love turn away from you. He just wants a relationship. I asked Kelenna in the first service if he would pray for us. I'm going to ask Derek if you would pray for us at this time.
Absolutely.
We just pray with us. Help us if there is someone here that needs to know Jesus, will you walk us through that, please?
I want you guys to also realize that we are a seed. This earth is the ground, but the only way you grow is to have Jesus Christ be the sunlight to your seed. So just know that when we do this, this is about us growing together. Dear Heavenly Father, we come and just thanking you, Father, for your grace and your glory. We come thanking you for your love and your forgiveness. Let people go home today and forgive and to love in your name and in your honor. We just come, Lord, and just thanking you. We ask that you would give us the strength to do all the things for you, through you, and for our lives. We thank you for this fellowship. We thank you for this church family. But most of all, we thank you for your love and your forgiveness. Be with us this day and guide us to your glory. Guide us home. And remember that we are your children, you are our Father, and that we love you with the most. I praise these things and ask for your forgiveness, and ask for your blessings in your Son, Jesus Christ's name.